Welcome to our Morning Throners podcast. I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Kyle. And we're the fucking Morning Throners.
Welcome back, everybody, to your favorite Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We're the Morning Throners. Got Tyrion 12 on deck. It's a little quickie guy.
Yep.
Quick hit, but I mean, it was like almost big. We'll get right to it, I guess. I didn't
get right into this.
I didn't know what to think when she had somebody, but then immediately though it went to he slipped in Alea or whatever in the middle there.
Oh, yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Alea, whatever.
He does mention something like in like the very first breath of seeing a whore about something, saying like her dark face, which again doesn't mean anything, but Alea is like a black girl. So that's like a hint like in the very first line, but yeah, it's hard to catch. I thought there was going to be something bigger in this chapter.
Yeah, is that the biggest thing you took from it, Kyle?
You've been waiting for a Theon chapter for a little while. We just got some news from Theon.
Yeah, but I'm not buying it. She tells him the Stark boys are dead.
Varys'
I
line.
was kind of assuming you weren't going to buy it. The fact that you didn't mention it. But you also said it's been a few days since you read this.
No, I that was my theory on that. Yeah,
gotcha.
Was that it's bad information.
Cool.
So whether Varys is doing that on purpose is a different thing, but bad information.
Gotcha. All right.
So they keep talking about Arya being dead too, right? Like,
yeah, that's true. Cersei's whole stance to that.
She's got bad track of
knowing who's alive and whatnot.
In the Jon one, I will say in the Jon one, Jon had a weird Bran dream where he was smelling death around Bran.
True.
No, I'm just putting pieces together, not trying to sway you.
I mean, and that so like it is a Theon chapter, not a Bran chapter coming up to give it away, but like that's probably why he wrote it from that perspective. I feel like we kind of had some of that conversation in some of those Theon chapters of like, why are we getting it from Theon and not Bran? And Bran, I definitely said I like Bran's side better when he was doing the wolf stuff, and I was hoping for more of that kind of thing. But yeah, so it sets this up for sure, like a is he alive thing. But
kind of on the same like line of that is like, this is just a really weird way to reveal this.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
in the middle of this other conversation that has zero to do with it,
and across the country.
Yeah, POV chapter like character who has like other POV like character siblings, and we learn about it half a world away from somebody who doesn't give half a shit.
In like one sentence.
And it's like the littlest part of the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I don't think it's one sentence or little. He talks about it with Cersei for
does he?
Decent, like him and Cersei talk about it. They go over it.
They have like a paragraph, and they completely change
they go over
from
a few
like
things. Yeah,
I don't think they really do.
Well, we'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, we're almost there. We didn't really skip too much. The only thing I think we really skipped over is that Tyrion left his chain, like gold hand chain thing, in his room because he knows that like Cersei doesn't like being reminded that he's the hand and has power here. Yep. So then he's on the way, and Varys stops him and gives him this letter, and he's like, "Shit." He wonders if Summer's howling like he was because Tyrion was there.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It is a pretty big. It's part of the chapter at least because it starts with the letter. It starts even before he sees her.
It starts with the letter. I'm saying like the actual conversation goes on from like them two to like being about Joffrey and Tom and safety like really quickly.
I'm not trying to say it's like a huge part, but Kyle had said it was like a line. Now I'm saying it's a little more than that.
Yeah, I was wrong. But he gets a letter and then he wonders about the wolves.
Mm-hmm.
Because he remembered before, right?
Yeah, how bad they were howling.
About Bran falling?
Because he was there when Bran got put.
I think maybe even like before Bran was howling too. Like, weren't they just howling every night? And then
when he was in a coma, they were howling for him. Yeah,
for sure they were nonstop when he was in a coma. Before that, you're probably right, Jeff. That like just like the annoying dog that howls every once in a while. That people like they knew about the dogs in Winterfell before Bran got pushed, or the wolves. Yeah.
So he gets to Cersei, he gives her the letter. She reads it. I mean, the big thing I said was like, I bet you're glad. Like, he kind of says that before she even reacts, right?
Yeah, he says like he's interested to see how she's going to react, and then he like kind of leads her. He's like, oh, but you like this.
Yeah, I'm sure you're glad. Like, there's your secret. The one witness that's, actually seen it in the act.
Yeah, and she's like, it was Jaime, not me. Like, I don't want him dead. Like, I didn't tell him to do that. I didn't kill. Tyrion's like, well, he did see you guys doing the nasty. And she's like, yeah, but he was just a kid. Like, we could have scared him into silence. How come I get accused every time a Stark stubs a toe?
Pretty good line by her.
She's like, this was all Theon. Leave me out of it.
He's like, well, Catelyn might not believe that because she jumped to some conclusions before, right?
Yeah, Catelyn jumped to conclusions.
That was the biggest conclusion. I mean, she got fed a little bit of it, but
and she was kind of locked in a bad situation too by chance. It wasn't how she would have played it out.
Yeah, but I think what Tyrion's saying here doesn't make any sense. Like, why would Cersei do anything to risk, or why would Catelyn do anything to risk
the last child?
Yeah, she has Robb too, right? Yeah,
the last child.
Like, if she thinks Sansa and Arya are like Cersei's holding them, the last thing I'd do after 2 of my kids die is make that person mad.
I mean, and to Cersei's point is these 2 kids didn't die under my watch. Like, this was your ward. Like, the guy that was fighting on your side. Like,
how could you possibly blame this on the Lannisters? Yeah.
Yeah. Look in the mirror if you really want to blame somebody. But, she's losing family members pretty quickly, and I don't know, hasty decisions may be made. We'll see next chapter.
Well, and that's even what Sansa said, right? She said, I still have Sansa, or not Sansa, Cersei said about Sansa.
Yeah.
She said, I still have Sansa, and Tyrion's like, no, we have Sansa.
Yeah.
But he still says, like, yeah, we need to maintain a positive relationship with a relationship with her as possible so that nothing happens to anybody else, right?
Exactly. Like
Jaime,
we both have people that the other people want.
Yeah.
So then they start eating dinner, and they got some really good food.
Which the rest of the city is starving. She's still got really good
food. I mean, they're like not even touching the swan. They have like 8 different poultries there.
Swans are massive too, right? Like,
the swan is bigger huge.
Than a chicken.
Like bigger than a turkey, I think.
Right?
Yeah,
probably.
That's probably comparable, but I don't. So they have dinner. He's making sure that he eats everything that she eats, so he doesn't get poisoned. And then the conversation switches to Littlefinger. If there's any word from Bitterbridge,
nada.
We have not heard from Littlefinger in forever. Like probably
Months.
like a quarter of a book. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the timeline say?
There's been at least 2 months since Littlefinger left.
Fuck's he doing out there? How long did we say it was going to take him? Like 7 days maybe to get to Bitterbridge? Not even?
Stannis' men who were like at Storm's End when Littlefinger left have gotten to the city, right? Which is about the same distance. So you think that he would have gotten to Bitterbridge.
Yeah.
For sure gotten there. But I mean, it hasn't been like a month or, 2 weeks that he's been there just kind of hanging out and still hasn't sent word or what. But you would think they would have heard something along the way, right?
The other thing is we never heard of Mace Tyrell being at Bitterbridge. Like Loras was there, but Mace, the father, is probably still back at Highgarden. So like if you're trying to propose a marriage, you probably need his sign off.
You don't think Mace was following along? Or it just wasn't confirmed?
I don't think we heard of him. I think we heard of Loras and everything. Yeah, I don't know if we heard of him being there. But potentially you have to write to Highgarden to get approval off that. Or, you know what I mean?
Cersei believes that Stannis is a traitor. He went over to Stannis, and Tyrion's just like, nah, he wouldn't do that. Like,
thinks Littlefinger's a traitor that went to Stannis.
And Tyrion's like, nah, no way. Stannis wouldn't even want Littlefinger. Like, he's too bad of an
They're
egg.
complete opposite personalities. Yeah.
All right. Somebody else wants to leave the castle. They want to go home. That's our girl, Lady Tanda.
Yep, that's why she's provided the ham, big ass ham for what they're eating right now.
Try a little bribery. Doesn't work. Tyrion's like, nope. Actually, tell her to bring more people here.
Yeah. So she thinks she better ask nicely because she doesn't want to end up the same way Giles Rosby did when he left with only asking Cersei. Lady Tanda wanted to cover all her tracks, asking everybody who could potentially kidnap her on the way out.
Wasn't Rosby in charge of the Tommen move though? Like He didn't really ask to leave.
Exactly.
Yeah, but she's just saying she knows the last time somebody left.
Yeah.
They asked Cersei, and Cersei said, yeah, you can go. Or, you know what I mean? Like, wasn't
whatever. Yeah, they didn't know that they were taking Tyrion or Tommen.
Tyrion just thinks, like, I'm included because she doesn't want to be captured like I captured Giles. Yeah.
So, and then the conversation switches to, like,
the mountain men.
The amount of men that they have, and they're like, why'd you even send your savages to the forest?
Yeah, you are begging for men. Why'd you send these guys away?
Yeah. He's like, they're doing a lot better where they are right now.
Yeah, five-head Tyrion. Good call here. These guys.
Yeah, for sure. That's what they're used to living. They're not used to defending the most defensible one of the most defensible castles in the realm.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
They're not arm to arm fighting.
I mean, they're basically southern wildlings, right? I mean, we just talked about it in the last chapter of like how Like they're all solos basically. I think the clansmen might be a little bit more for a clan than the wildlings are, but
Yeah, for sure.
In terms of like being not disciplined, but like but still being like brave and fight, not like shying away from.
But like a burn man might fight for a burn man type of thing.
Yeah, but they have no advanced tactics.
They did fight pretty well in the battle with Tywin, though.
Yeah, I mean, they were sent to be slaughtered, right? In that battle, that was like
right.
That
and
was
they
the
didn't
move.
get
And
slaughtered.
they didn't get slaughtered.
There's still some of them left. Yeah.
So they didn't do horrible for sure.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Then the talk switches to the Antler Men.
So she's like, "Why the fuck does everybody hate the Lannisters?"
Like, what did we do to them? We did nothing. Tyrion agrees.
He's like, "Yeah, we didn't, but they want to be on the winning side, and they're betting men, and they're betting on Stannis right now."
What do you think if we were the odds maker in Vegas right now? What the odds would be for?
We could ask Kyle.
Stannis Lannisters. I'm not an odds maker by any means. I'm sorry, but
It's okay. Give us your best. Give us your best go at it.
I mean, I think Stannis. So you got like the problem here is like all the variables, right? So they got the castle. They're preparing for these people to come. They know it's coming. They're already kind of like doing some good defense stuff with the bridge or the boats being gone and all that. But Stannis has a massive army, right?
Comparatively.
But we also know he has this weird shadow baby thing that's been fucking everybody up. But we kind of had that conversation before.
The number one soldiers.
yeah. But we had that discussion before where maybe like who to kill, maybe there's too much light going on in here, the baby can't get where it needs to go or whatever. Who knows? We don't know the rules, or I don't know the rules behind it yet. But anyway, I'd put Stannis up maybe like plus 200. Is that like a slight advantage? 250.
Plus would be
that would be the underdog.
So Stannis
minus 250.
Yeah. So that means he's like 2-1 odds. You have to bet 200 to win 100.
Yeah, see, that's how bad I am with that.
There's no value in that. I'm going with the Lannisters. Just hoping for the underdog.
Yeah. I'm hoping for that shadow baby.
All right.
Well, that's not for the Lannisters. So.
I bet on the.
Well, yeah. I mean, if Stannis
is on
Stannis,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So there's the Antler Men. You know, obviously they're betting on Stannis winning, but they believe that they already have them all. I don't know what have means. Like, do they just have a list of them, or are they actually captured? I think that's kind of up in the air at this moment.
Yeah, last we heard was like I think it was the end of the last Tyrion chapter. We were kind of just getting news of these guys, but all we knew was that one of them was like the armorer who said he was going to make Tyrion the demon.
Yeah,
the demon suit of armor.
Right, because he was like, I guess I'm not getting that.
Yeah, that's pretty much all we know about him is that they're like pretty rich, and he was one of them. And then this is the next.
They didn't say they killed any of them?
I think right now they're saying that they have them, which like Jeff's point, I don't know if it's clear whether they just know about them.
They said we found them all.
They know who they are, or they've like captured them, or what. But
that didn't happen in the last one. I felt like one of them got murdered, or two of them did. But
I think they just started mentioning it, and it was like that was going to be like the next kind of play.
First off, there's no way they have them all. 0% chance.
I would agree with that statement. You know,
again, I feel like you would need to start capturing and torturing before you.
Yeah.
If it's like an organization where they all know each other, then yes. If they're just using like the term Antler Men to refer to like anyone who's like not really on their
supporting
side,
Stannis,
even if it's not like an organization, like a group of people that are all talking to each other, then that's way harder to isolate, right? Because there's probably a ton of people in the city that just don't want them to win or whatever. But I take it more as like a group of people who are somehow working together, which I think you could probably maybe not get all of them, depending on how big the group is, but get a decent amount if you start torturing, start pulling off fingernails and shit.
Yeah, that's fair.
Either way, Cersei's like, you trust Varys way too much.
Yeah, which we've kind of had this conversation before.
Well, we're having it later tonight, or earlier tonight. We had it with the Starks.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like, is this even true? Like,
which no, I don't. Like I said, I don't. That's my solid prediction. No, I don't think it's true
for the Stark thing.
Yeah.
Here, what Cersei's talking about is slightly different, right? She's kind of more saying that like Varys pretends to be on all of our sides, but he's on his own side, right? Which isn't quite the same thing as like, yes, he does lie and do his own, which it's along the same lines. But like here, she's saying something. I think we've said this before, like along when all of a sudden, I know that Lolly's his bed made, right? Like again, it's a throwaway thing, but to me that reveals a lot that when he finds information, he doesn't just go tell people who should know about it. He holds on to it till it's useful to him.
So it's useful. I mean, and we do get a little bit of proof that he is playing kind of both sides of the coin here, by the Hound info.
Yeah, exactly. So
So
go ahead, Kyle. What do you think about this?
About what?
So Cersei basically says, Varys told me that you are trying to get the Hound away from Joffrey.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it comes out here that Varys is not best friends with Tyrion. And I mean, Tyrion kind of knew that going into this, but I think he definitely thought he was, his main man.
Yeah. Kind of to the same point, like, I think it was either earlier, I think it had to be earlier this book, right? Because Tyrion wasn't here before. But there's a point where Tyrion's like, Varys, I don't know if you're my best friend or my worst enemy. Or, like, he has told Varys this to his face before, right? And this kind of doesn't say he's his worst enemy, but he's somewhere in the middle. He's not on either side.
He definitely thought more too in previous chapters, like as he's playing his games, of like thinking to himself, like, should I tell him this? Like, do I trust him? Should I blah blah blah? Like, he's kind of not done that as much, I feel.
Recently with Varys. He's been, more with Varys. Along the same lines, though, like, what is Varys talking about here? Do we know about this? Have we heard about this before?
About the Hound? I didn't remember either. I was like, what the fuck is he talking about?
So there is a part where again, I don't remember exactly how the conversation is going, but Tyrion's talking to Varys, and he's saying something like, Varys says, like, oh, men whore and drink and gamble. And Tyrion's like, the Hound does all of these things. I know this. I'm not asking that. I'm asking where or when or something like that. And Varys is like, oh, my lord, one would almost think you're trying to find a time when the king's alone to do him some harm. And I think what Tyrion's thinking is, I want to take him to Aliayas. Like, I think his plan is, maybe if we get him a whore, Joffrey will be more chill. I think, like, is where Tyrion's going with that. He's thinking that. Then he doesn't tell Varys that. I think he's thinking that. Maybe he tells Bronn that. Then he asks Varys when the Hound wouldn't be near him. And then Varys basically says, like, oh, you
want to kill him. Yeah.
It's kind of what Varys puts together from that. But I don't know if that's what Tyrion's thinking. And then here it seems like Tyrion has a completely different plan. It's not really what they're talking about at all. Like, he just wants the Hound for something else that makes total sense. So I don't know if this is related to that at all.
I don't think it's related.
But it's along the same lines. It seems related. It seems related, like, in the fact that the topics are the exact same, but not related in the fact that they don't seem to have anything to do with each other.
I mean, I guess he kind of wants to learn more about the Hound, maybe just like his ways and whatnot. But I mean, it also like throws it off because I think in the show, doesn't he get Joffrey? Yes. I don't know when that is. I don't know. But
I don't think that happens at all in the books.
I don't think it does either. So I don't mind saying it. But
no, I mean, like, so he knows that the Hound is like a good fighter, right? And they need all that they can get right now. Yeah. So essentially, that's what he's trying to do, is just put him where he's needed. So I don't know.
Yeah, more specifically, it seems like what they're talking about here is, like, during the battle, get Sandor away from Joffrey, which, like, he's not trying to take Joffrey Aliayas during a battle, right? So
it's Shatayas, isn't it?
It's Shatayas. Yeah. So,
all right. So what actually Cersei is worried about is, like, the Hound not being near Joffrey during the battle that would come. Tyrion wants the Hound in a sortie on a side gate ready to come in and attack.
Yeah, sortie. I think we all know, like, kind of what it means, but it's a Game of Thrones where the definition is, like, an attack led by defenders, which is, like, kind of an oxymoron, but it's like when you would, like, charge out against the people who, like, just landed on the beach or whatever, right? Potentially, or sneak out a postern gate to flank them or something like that.
And Tyrion is adamant that Joff needs to be seen by the men. They want to fight for a king that, isn't hiding under his mother's skirts, as he says it.
And Joff's,
which I think is fair.
Joff's, like, on board with that. Did you say that? That, like, Joff kind of wants this too. He wants to be involved somewhat.
Everything that we've heard from Joff, from his own point of view, is that he's a good fighter, that he could, slice people up, and
that's where he should be.
It is one of those things where he always talks a big game. I've assumed he doesn't, like, back it up and we've only ever seen him really, like, once, like, in a combat situation.
Yeah. You're saying against Robb?
Way back early, him versus Robb. And we don't even see it. We just hear that they already went at it. And that it seems like he's trying to chicken, like, he plays it off by making
He played chicken.
Robb,
no, he doubled down.
It seems like he's chickening out.
Yeah.
No, he doubled up. He doubled down and, like, wanted real steel. And Kissel was like, no, we're not doing that. Like, So everyone else was like, wow.
I think he knew that wasn't going to happen.
Maybe Cassell looks like a pussy. Yeah, exactly. He definitely did. Like,
but it could go either way. Maybe he is better than Robb and knows he's better than Robb and wants to actually hurt Robb. And that's why.
If you are actually better, we've seen Jon with a blunted sword or a wood sword, and Jon was fucking up everybody at the wall. So I know he doubled down and was like, I know they're not going to let me use real steel. I'm not going to look like a pussy, and I'm not going to get beat because they're not going to let me do it. I can just be like, fuck it, I'm not doing this.
I agree with you guys. I just think it's interesting how we don't know.
But I mean, we do, because we saw him in other situations, like with Arya.
What if he went out there and he was a shadow of his daddy, and he's just out there chopping heads off?
Arya kicked his ass. He was crying.
He's got some crossbow skills.
He did cry. I don't know if you could say skills. They literally made him a shotgun crossbow because he was missing so much.
Yeah, but now he's good.
But she's like, oh my God, he's 13. He can't do this. And Tyrion's like, relax. We're going to have him in a spot surrounded by, red cloaked men.
Remember Jaime at 13? If you want him to be his father's son, let him play the part, which I like how they just like openly, like with Cersei and Tyrion together, they just like are just
she's
so
not
passionate about it. Yeah.
But he's like, basically, if the city falls, like, we'll get him into the Red Keep well before he dies. And she's like, what? Like, will the city fall? Are we gonna lose?
Like, how is this the first she's thinking of that? Like, she still thought till now that they were fine?
I don't think she is, but like Tyrion is like general number one, right? In terms of like the city's defense. So like, you don't even want to hear that possibility cross that guy's lips. It's kind of how I see that, her reaction there. It's like, what? That shouldn't even be the thing that your thought that you're thinking.
Yeah. I mean, it's to the point of like, you have a game plan. At the end of the day, you might have a game plan. You could still win or lose.
So next thing he tells her is that he released Lord Giles. You were talking about before.
Well, real quick, I will say if they do manage to, if the city does look to go bad and they go back, Plan B.
Tywin. They're gonna wait for Tywin. Hold up, wait for Tywin.
Yeah, that's Plan B.
Yeah, get into the castle, inside the castle, and get sieged out.
Which is really bad news, I'd say, for them that they don't realize because of that whole the Shadow Baby. I think if all that's left is the Lannisters and the castle, I think that thing's
you just trapped yourself. You just trapped yourself, the Shadow Baby. But they also turn out all the light. They run out of candle wax, so they don't. The talk goes. Tyrion wants to give Cersei some people back,
which is weird.
He
right?
offers Giles back, hoping that it'll like kind of appease Cersei.
Blunt.
I just don't think Tyrion gives a fuck about these two, and probably just is tired of like babysitting them. He's like, you can babysit them now, and she doesn't want anything. She doesn't want anything to do with Blunt. She doesn't really say either way about Rosby.
He drops the bomb that Tommen stays.
Yeah, I keep
Tommen. I don't even know. I'm sure they're all kind of staying. Maybe at least Giles will stay. Maybe Blunt comes back. But
other weird thing, she says that like Jacelyn Bywater is protecting Tommen at Rosby, right? Like he says that in the chapter. Didn't like last chapter with Tyrion? I'm pretty sure we heard that Jacelyn had just got back from Rosby after having like secured Tommen. Like he was back in the city helping. I think I looked.
He might have went back.
And I think he went back again. He must have. I did look. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened. Like he went and did the thing and came back to the city, and now he's away again.
Isn't it? It's kind of weird. I mean, I guess he is kind of the head of your watch. Yeah. But he's also not gonna preparing his men for what's to.
But he's also Lord Bywater now, right? So he Lord of Castle Rosby? Like. If Giles Rosby,
he gave him.
But if Giles Rosby is like still around and like he's giving Tyrion's giving him back to Cersei, whatever, like giving, like has he been stripped of all lands?
I don't know.
If so, why not titles? They're still calling him Lord.
I don't know if we will.
I'm confused on what Jacelyn is the Lord of, and if it's Rosby, then what the fuck is Giles doing?
It's so weird. Like all the time, like the biggest reward you can get is like, all right, we'll make you a lord, and they like.
Who are they giving Harrenhal?
I don't think they.
Littlefinger.
Well, they said the last it was promised to Slint, and I think
but he went to
and then I thought it got promised to somebody after. I don't know.
Tyrion promised it to Littlefinger in his like, but that was the fake promise. That was the if you marry Marcella to
to Rob and Aaron.
Littlefinger,
and he had to go bang.
But then that was like not a real thing. But when Littlefinger left to go do the Bitterbridge thing, he did say like, I'll have to think about what my reward is. And Tyrion thought like, I don't like the sound of that or something. So
yeah,
not necessarily Harrenhal, but
I was gonna say that could be something else that they gave Jacqueline.
And again, I guess to Jeff's point is you don't need a castle. You can just be a lord without a castle. There might be some benefit. Like, I don't know what it would be.
This is what I was saying. That like, all right, we'll make you a lord. And then they find this little fucking hut and make you the lord of that hut. And it's like, are you actually anything?
As long as you have a peasant to pay you taxes, I think you're a lord, right?
Is that what it takes?
I think nowadays you can just buy a square foot of land in Scotland and they send you a piece of paper that says you're a lord. I'm pretty sure it's like I don't want to make fun of that because maybe they'll sponsor us one day. But
Scott Disick got knighted and became Lord Disick.
Yeah, same thing. It's probably what he did.
All right, so she changed the subject to tarts, which is kind of weird, but she's like, yeah, you know why you can't actually trust Varys, or you know why Varys is actually really dangerous? Because it doesn't have a cock.
Neither do you.
Yeah, and how
maybe
much does
I'm
Cersei
dangerous. Cersei definitely wants to be like ravaging. If she was a man, she'd be at the whorehouse every night too.
I don't know.
I think it's more of that she wants to be king. Yeah, I think that's the point.
Well,
is that she
my
wishes
point
she
was
could be
like
king.
she wants control, and like I think she could just like go control a whore too.
I think you're both right. Like that's an easy way. What Jeff's saying, that's an easy way to find control in those days.
Okay.
And to your point, yeah, that's the end game is being in charge of everything, and that's one of the big things holding her back right now is her gender. So yeah, she basically says, "Well, your problem is you think with your cock too much," which we basically have said is true already.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
Tyrion kind of admits that this is one of his weaknesses. And Tyrion kind of knows just from where this conversation's headed. He's like, oh, right now my little worm is thinking it's time to go.
His little worm. Like, what a weird... There's got to be a better way to
I think she
refer
said
to
that.
it
I think
as
she
a
said
worm.
that, right? And then he said
yeah.
That worm between your legs does half your thinking. And he said, right now my worm is thinking that perhaps it's time to leave.
Exactly.
So you guys ever seen the movie Varsity Blues?
With Tom Cruise?
No, Varsity Blues is like the guy from Dawson's Creek. James Vanderlee or whatever. It's a football movie. No,
I'm thinking all the right moves.
With Billy Bob, the big fat Billy Bob.
I don't know. I'm thinking all the right moves.
They have sex ed class and they're like, all right, let's talk about the male penis. And he's like, what are some nicknames for a penis? And then the dude just goes off with like 30 different names. Yeah, like Boner, the one-eyed monster, blah blah blah. Like
I was thinking of there's a Tom Cruise football movie where there's a scene where he's like in
that's
class,
Jerry Maguire,
and he's like he has a boner in class, and he's like leaning back, and like one of his friends is like looking at it or something, and it's like those desks that like lift up, like you can like lift it the whole way up and put stuff in it, and his like dick is like lifting like the desk up like an inch or so from like making a gap, and I think he's like closing his eyes, just like leaning back, but the teacher's like walking up, like giving grades back. So like right before the teacher gets to him, his friend just like punches like the desk.
Oh my god!
Tom Cruise like sits up real quick.
What movie is that?
I think it's Jerry. I thought Jerry Maguire's a football movie, but he's like an agent there. He's definitely not in school.
Anyway,
I'll find it and I'll put it in the Discord. I'll put a link to that that scene in the Discord.
All right, so they talk a little bit. They get off the cock story more about how.
Well, she knows she's got
I got you.
Right here.
I got your girl.
Yeah,
I got your girl.
She can see Tyrion's getting flustered. She's got the upper hand, and she knows it currently.
Yeah.
He's
the other
scared,
important thing is she says this information she didn't need Varys for. She's like, I don't only rely on Varys here. Which again, we don't know if it's true or not. Varys has information, like full information about this. So,
I mean, yeah, it was Varys' plan. But the other night when they rode through town, I think anybody on the watch could have seen that.
Hold on though. When he rode through town, he went straight to that night. He went straight to the manse. He did not go to the brothel.
True.
So that is like the one night he could not have gotten found out on, or he would have the right person.
That's fair.
So Tyrion thinks about that here because it's before they bring the girl in.
There was also someone saw him that night. Like the singer was there.
There was a singer.
Right,
That's true. Yeah, but again, this is the actual.
There was a witness.
This is the actual.
The
girl.
actual.
This is like the
girl he walks into the room with, right?
Again, yeah.
Yes.
So both of those things, what you guys are both saying, the singer and the streets, are very plausible. But
no, you're 100% correct. I didn't even think about that. But yes, yeah, that would have not revealed Aliyah.
So kind of on the same points, I think the weird thing, the thing that kind of makes it seem like this, like Varys isn't the one that gave this information. Because again, I'm not really taking Cersei's word for this, but I think she's probably being truthful because Varys has all the information. So like if Varys was trying to fuck Tyrion over, like give the real girl. Also, Varys could give half the information to try and make Tyrion think exactly what I'm thinking right now. This couldn't be Varys, or he would have given everything.
The question would be from Varys' point of view, like what does Varys get by turning Tyrion in?
That's kind of what I'm thinking. Say Varys tells Cersei this, Tyrion would never suspect Varys for the reason I just said. But now Varys is playing the Varys game where Cersei really trusts Varys.
The really trust is a stretch. Like,
agreed.
She's going to take this piece of info. I don't know if trust is the word, but she's going to take it. Like, she knows now this is info that she can use.
I think she's going to come back to him for more, though, if it works out well for her, right? Which is the trust.
All she needs is like one other person to confirm that yes, Tyrion walks into this whorehouse, and she's like, "All right, fuck it, I'll run with this."
Yeah, exactly. Because kind of what I was saying was Varys might possibly give Cersei this information in order to try and gain her trust. I agree with you that it's unlikely because Cersei literally started this conversation with "Don't trust Varys." He plays this game, literally calling him out for doing exactly what I'm saying. So she knows this, which again makes me think Varys.
But at the same time, it could be pointing out just how dumb she is that she doesn't even realize he's playing the same game on her.
It's got my brain in a pretzel over here. But let's assume Varys didn't do it. Let's jump out of that pretzel. My next thought is who could have told Cersei this, right? Like,
I mean, there's a lot of people.
Any Watchmen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. But again, I guess anybody who was in that brothel.
Like, if you see Tyrion's gone there enough that there's a pattern, right? Now, to know which girl is which, like, did they have to go in and, like, kind of maybe hold down Chitaya, but then she gave up her daughter, right? Like, Aliyah, her daughter. Yeah. Like, but then, like, if she gave up anybody else, like, then that whore gets tortured. Like, this Aliyah gets beat here. Like, she fights. Yeah. Another girl would be like, wait, it's not me. Like, I've never touched him. Yeah. And they're like, well, this is goofy now. Like he says later on when she brings her in, she's playing the part of, like, they were prepared for this happening.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's literally why this was like Aliyah's job is to take the beating. Right. If the beating comes, it's your job to take it, right? It's kind of the whole point.
And she's getting paid for it, I'm sure.
She's got to be well compensated.
They'll be putting a big renovation on the brothel after this whole deal's over.
A whole new secret tunnel.
Yeah, exactly. Way more secret.
Somewhere else. Yeah.
So the conversation goes into like, well, you gave Marcella away, you stole Tom from me, and now you plan on killing Joffrey, so you can rule through Tommen, and that's not happening. Like, I'm going to kill your whore if anything happens to my kids.
Real quick before that, there's one or two things. Like, Tyrion's trying to avoid using Shay's real name, right? Which is very smart because we still haven't seen who it is.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if he does. I mean, he's smart enough to not do it, but like, imagine if he just acted irrationally. It was like name drop Shay.
Give me back Shay.
So and she's like, "What?
You
like,
let her go."
Aliyah, we don't got that girl.
And he is trying to not. I think she, like Kyle said, she's kind of seeing through it, but he's trying to not come off as super concerned. Like, he's joking around.
Yeah.
She's like, I have your whore. He's like, oh, I thought men were more your taste. Like, shit like that, right?
He says he calls her whore too. Like, he doesn't even use ain't. Like, calling it, whore takes kind of like any feelings out of it.
So to what you were saying, she's accusing him of trying to sell Marcella, check done. Steal Tommen, check done. Last step, kill Joffrey, rule through Tommen. Tyrion's like, I thought about it, but I'm not. Like, no, it's fucked up. I would never, but I thought about it.
Yeah, like, and we talked about like Kinslayer, whatnot, and people,
Yeah, it's a very bad thing to do. But then, and it's like Stannis is right outside. Like, we can't be doing any of this shit right now. Like, come on.
He's like, you need me. Yeah, of all times, right now, you need me. Yeah. She's like, why do I need you?
And he's like, you probably already killed her, right?
Yeah, eventually.
Is that next? Okay.
He tries to give like she's like, why do I need you? He's like, not your prowess in battle, and he's like, and he actually can't really come up. He literally can't come up with anything. So
he says, Bronze sellswords won't fight without me.
Yeah,
he
huge
lied.
lie.
Yeah.
He literally can't come up with any good reason why Cersei needs him right now.
I mean, he's doing
which isn't good for
all
Tyrion.
the preparations right now. Like, unless she's ready to take over, or one, because Tywin put him there. That's why she needs him, because Daddy put him there.
Because Daddy said so. That's the only reason. Which isn't
because Daddy said so.
Which isn't ironclad. It's kind of my point here.
I think he's better than she is.
I mean, if you're Cersei, if you're Cersei and you kill Tyrion
so
right here,
need him.
You know, what's it? Ask for forgiveness.
Exactly. It's better to ask. I'm with Cersei. Better to ask forgiveness and permission.
Not ask for permission. Beg for forgiveness. And what are they gonna do? Kill her too? Like, doubtful.
When Tywin did tell him not to bring his whore to court, so
yeah,
Does Cersei
although
know
this
that?
is a different one.
Does Cersei know that though?
Well, this is a different whore too. This isn't the one that Tywin knew. Well, it is, but it isn't.
Tyrion might have been making a more general statement about there's no horse.
Like, imagine if Cersei just wrote a letter to Daddy and was like, I have his whore. Yeah. Like, he brought his whore. Again, there's no photo. They're not quick making a painting of it and sending it with the letter. He'd be like, all right, send it back. All right, kill him, kick him out,
assumptions
whatever.
Made. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, she wants to be in charge, so she's not going to go to Tywin like that anyway.
Yeah. All right, so he's like, how do I know she's even alive? Like, you probably already killed her. And she's like, oh, you want to see her? And here come the two new Kettle Black brothers.
Yeah, so different ones, right? I don't think either of these are the ones. Neither of these got Kingsguard knighted.
Yeah.
That was,
I think, Osmond.
That was Osmond, who's now in the Kingsguard. This is Osfrid and Osford.
Yeah,
awesome. George.
Who look like him?
Yeah, Osney and Osford. We'll never confuse these guys.
Yeah, I'm already confused. And he does he smile to himself, or?
Well, he's got some scratches on his face.
Oh, Osney he's basically like,
yeah.
He's talking about Tyrion.
Yeah, fuck Osney. He's like, wow, she lost. She's a fucking idiot, right? Like, thinking to himself, like, he knows. He's like, damn, you dumbass. Like, I don't know, what's he say? You've lost, Cersei, and the Kettlebacks are even bigger fools than Bronn claimed. That's his thought.
But his head starts like bouncing around too, right? Because he immediately is like, oh fuck, like, I don't want her to get beat either. Like, this isn't too much better than it being Shay. Like, Tyrion's not a bad guy. He doesn't want just innocent girls getting beaten.
Yeah, I mean, and because of that, that's what takes him to his next kind of action. Yeah. It's like, all right, I need to act like Dad now. And he's like,
well, yeah, because his first thought was kill the girl, right? Then fine, kill her.
Does that cross the mind? Maybe.
He says you've lost Cersei and the Kettle Blacks are even bigger fools than you thought. All he needed to do was say the words. What are the words?
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Tell the words of like, that's not my whore type of thing.
Fine, get rid of her. Do whatever you want with her.
Let's think about that. What happens if Tyrion says that? Do they kill her?
No, maybe. Who cares? At that point, at the end of the day, it's a casualty. But I think the bigger thing is if he tells her, fuck that, it's not my whore, then they're still searching.
Exactly.
Then that makes a whore known.
Well, no, it says all he needed to do was say the words. He's smarter than to say that, oh, no, you got the wrong person. Go keep looking. Right. The only thing he's saying here is like, all he needed to do is say that you can kill her. And he said, but I looked at her and saw how sad she was.
Oh, you think he's saying, the thing is, if he does that, well, I guess she's gagged. But if he does that, she's not playing along with this anymore, right? She's jumping out of that role real quick if he's like, yeah, kill her. You know what I mean?
He doesn't say that she's sad. He just said instead he looked at the girl's face and said. So, like, yeah. I think he's playing the part. Now he's playing his part. Like,
not kill her, but like, fine, beat her, do whatever you need to. Like, just not worry about her.
It comes up here soon when it's like, all right, let's trade him for Tommen. And he's like, no, fuck no. I'd rather have Tommen. Like, keep her. I don't need her. You know? Yeah. And so it's like, yeah, I don't want you to kill her. And I want to pretend that she's my girl so that you think that you've kind of won this battle, this tiny battle. But no, I'm keeping Tommen. Like, she's not worth the prince to me in this negotiation.
He hates that he has to do that, though.
Yeah.
Right. So keep her then, but keep her safe. If these animals think they can use her, well, sweet sister, let me point out that the scale tips two ways. His tone was calm, flat, uncaring. He'd reached for his father's voice and found it. Whatever happens to her happens to Tommen as well. And that includes the beatings and the rapes. If she thinks me such a monster, I'll play the part for her. So you're right. that he's not willing to give up Tommen here, but again, I don't think it's like I don't think that thought of okay, fuck this bitch stays in his head very long.
Exactly. No, and I wasn't saying it did. I don't know if you were trying to say that I did.
No.
He's fully on Team Aliaya now. Like he's trying to do his best to save her.
Yeah. But this is also a kind of not foreshadow. What would be later on?
Foreshadow.
Is it foreshadow? They foreshadowed that they have Sansa and they have Jaime, and now this is just Cersei having her, and he's like, well, fuck, I have Tommen, so like. It's just more poker.
Oh, you think it's like a parallel to like...
Kind of. Like we talked about how they have chips against each other, and now these two have chips against each other.
Which is like more complicated, right? Because it's like, now it's like internal...
It's a game inside a game.
Yeah. A lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of what you were continuing with that quote a little bit. She says, you wouldn't dare. And he says, I'll do it myself. Which is
I'll fuck my nephew myself.
Yeah. So... I mean, Cersei fucks her brother. Fucking your nephew.
Trying to slap him.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the GOATus moment. Not only does he catch it, then his little ass throws her down, too.
Well, he's going to bend it to break her arm, yeah.
Puts her in an arm bar.
Throw her in the hammerlock or something.
She's got to outweigh him, though. No? Like, he's losing every battle, but center of gravity. That's the only thing he's got over
Low man wins.
Low man knows one. So he tosses her down, the kettlebacks move, and he's like, I'll break her arm if you take one more step. Now untie her and ungag her.
I kind of like half don't understand how like, so he grabs her, they take a step forward, he's like, stop moving or I'll break her arm. They stop moving. Then he throws her down and then like nothing happens to him. Like he's not holding her anymore. Yeah. He goes and like helps her undo her bonds and takes a gag out. And like Cersei's now by herself, not being like, kill him. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. It's also like he couldn't do this. Like he literally gets sore walking up the stairs.
I was gonna say this goes back to another one that
doing
George
the backflip,
writing like the backflip.
Yeah.
Now he's a karate master.
He's bringing it back. Tyrion's gonna be really agile for the rest of the series.
Like I can see him catching the hand, but don't act like he's a black belt and he like flips her over her arm. Like
he's a fucking gymnast and a black belt karate master now. But he's also horribly crippled and can barely ride a horse.
Hey, he did fight. Hey, don't give Tyrion no credit. He fought in the battle. He killed like a guy or two. Killed a horse with his helmet. Okay, I think he can throw Cersei to the ground. He killed a horse with his head. Let's give credit where credit's due.
Yeah. So he goes up to Aliaya and he unties her and he's like, "Sweetling, you must be brave." She's like, "I will, my lord. I know you'll free me."
So this is where we first find out it's not.
Gives him a kissy kiss.
Right. So this is the reveal where we get her name. I think the first time.
I will, he promised, and Aliaya bent over and kissed him on the brow. Yeah. That's the first mention of her.
Yeah. So again, I think it's kind of cool how Kyle, you can tell us if it worked on you. Like, did you believe up until this point that it was Shay basically?
Yeah, I mean that's definitely who you think's coming through here.
100%. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, you can kind of tell, like, when he says, like, you've lost, like, there's a couple things that are kind of, like, start wavering over it.
Yeah, and that's why it's cool, like, even for you to kind of, like, reread the chapters, because you like, go through it while we're going to do the podcast. You even get to pick up on some of the stuff that you don't get normally to a reread, even from a first time. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, right? She kisses him, leaves a little bloody stain.
The biggest bomb of the fucking chapter.
I have never liked you, Cersei. But you were my own sister, so I never did you harm. You've ended that. I will hurt you for this. I don't know how yet, but give me time. A day will come when you think yourself safe and happy, and suddenly your joy will turn to ashes in your mouth, and you'll know the debt is paid.
Yikes.
That's hardcore, man.
That's bad.
So I don't know if we said it, but like, and maybe he didn't even think it yet, but Tyrion, it was a moment where he's like, he said, I read it in the quote where he's like, I reached for Tywin's voice, but there's like another time or two where he's like, I got to be like Tywin here. That's how you handle this.
Well, here it's coming right here. He said, if in battle, the battle's over once you get your enemy to break. Yep. They're going to flee. They'll never rally. It's over. And right here, pretty much, he got Cersei to break. So
he thinks it's done with Cersei.
Yeah.
Yep. So he goes back to his beddy time, and naked Shay's waiting there for him. And it's kind of a weird encounter. Like usually he would, get to it, but he's all worried about other stuff now.
This is like complete 180 from every other time that they've been
it's like for like all the confusion and like emotional distress that he just went through in that meeting with Cersei, like this just has to be like the worst like ending to the day.
Yeah.
Where like now the woman this other woman that you just like freaking out about, like this, like
it's another reminder or whatever.
And Shay's like doesn't know anything that's happening. She's just like a young girl, like, oh fuck me, yeah, look at my titties.
Yeah, like, hey, I'm back in this nice fur bed. Exactly. I'm ready for it.
Yeah. And now here she is. He doesn't know whether or not to tell her that there's another person being held for her or because of her currently. It's definitely changed his outlook on where he's at. Like, I mean, things were kind of going his way before, right? Now they're crumbling down more and more.
Yeah. So we get a little Alice update. All she does is sleep and eat. Shay doesn't seem to really like her. And we find out there's baby in belly.
Yeah, from the rape.
This is kind of fucked up, but there's a point where Shay's like, all she does is cry all the time. I don't get it. All they did was fuck her.
Yeah. Like that's literally my job.
Yeah. Which
that's how
being a horror rape
she is.
Is totally different, but like it's kind of a funny line.
Well, but that's like Shay's. That's from her point of view. That's what she's saying. Like she's saying that it's the same. And
yeah, exactly.
All right. So then he's like, all right, like how the fuck did you get in here? Like where's the secret door? And she's like, I don't know. I was wearing a hood, but at one point I saw some red and black mosaic tiles with dragons on them. And she tries to explain the way she
climb
walked.
A ladder, crouch for a
ladder,
while.
gate, crouch, mosaic, ladder again, crouch. Then we're here.
And he starts looking around, can't find it.
Flips up a torch.
Spinning the sconce upside down.
Doing some Scooby-Doo shit.
Classic.
This reminds me, isn't that like the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie? Like right at the beginning, like Will's coming downstairs or Elizabeth's coming downstairs and Will shows up to like give the sword to the governor. And like while he's like waiting, he's like inspecting like the craftsmanship of like the candle holder and it like pops off the wall and he like hides it in like a bin real quick. That's Tyrion right here, like trying to check candle sconces.
So he's like, all right, like let me get in the bed, and he can't get it up. She tries everything, and he's like, all right, baby girl, just go to bed. It's not happening.
Not today.
That's it.
There's a part where she when she like looks up at him and he thinks all the sweet innocence in the world is written there in the lines of her young face, and then immediately catches himself like, you're a fucking idiot. Cersei was so right. All you do is think with your tongue. This girl is a whore. Like she is not innocent. Like she literally was just making fun of a rape victim for not being used to it. Like this is not an innocent person. Like she's been around the block. And then go to sleep, and he falls asleep. The sound of her breathing,
holding one tit.
Yep, tit in hand.
All right, Kyle. There's a lot to unpack here.
A lot to unpack. I don't know if, again, like we've kind of been in this like limbo state for where we like it always seems like the next chapter is going to be this battle, and then it just isn't ever. So we keep making predictions about the same stuff. So I don't know if like there's too much more to predict on that. We've talked about that already.
I mean, I think I kind of made some throughout on like Varys' info and stuff like that. I think we're good.
I will say next chapter's a cat one. If you want to, what do you think is going to be without reading it? What do you think is going to be going on there? Is she going to do what Cersei and Tyrion were afraid of and just kill Jaime here because of some bad news?
I didn't even think she was going to get that, but I guess that is kind of the natural next progression here. At the very least, she's going to know that the city's or Winterfell is under attack. So I think maybe she tries to rally somebody to go north.
Right. We haven't even heard Robb find out that Winterfell was taken, right? So
yeah. So I think that's where I'm at. I don't think she gets news that they're dead, but I don't know.
All right.
All right, well, good podcast. We'll see you guys in the next one. I think the next one is a little bit of a long one, so buckle in. And we'll see Kyle in that one. We'll see the rest of you guys in the spoiler section. Like the podcast, leave us a comment, rate us on iTunes,
rate us on Apple Pods,
review us, babies. Come on.
Later, nerds.
Bye.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Bye, Kyle. See you later. Thanks for hanging out with us. Now, on to the spoiler section of Tyrion 12. Nels, what's your hot take?
I got a few things. I don't think anything huge ones.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that we know is going to happen.
bunch of little things, right? Like, so Cersei says at one point, like, Jaime would lead his own sorties, kind of being like, you need the Hound to lead your sorties because you're not leading your own, right? Like that's what she's saying here is you're not leading your own, you're commanding other people. She says Jaime would lead his own. Well, Tyrion does lead his own.
Yeah, he does, right? And they're different roles. That's like saying like Tyrion is the vice president right now.
Tyrion could say Tywin doesn't.
Yeah, right.
He sends other people to do it. The better people.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not a soldier. I'm the general, motherfucker. Like, I sit on top of the hill and move the pieces around. Your brother, who's dumb as shit but can fight, like, that's why he's out there, because he doesn't do anything else.
Exactly, yeah. Another short thing, Tyrion says, I would never harm my own blood. Well,
yeah, well, he kills his daddy.
Yeah. Again, there's theories, maybe not his dad. Maybe half his dad.
That's super weird.
I know, but there is a theory out there that there's like I guess there is some actual condition where you can have like a double fertilized egg, and there's theories that Tyrion is somehow half Tywin.
It happens on Jerry Springer like once a week.
Really? Where there's two dads and one mom? Like there's actually three parents for the same child?
It's happened that two twins had two dads.
And a mom.
The mom had a set of twins, but they were fathered by different men.
For some reason, when you say two dads, my head immediately doesn't go to there has to be a mom. Like maybe science is to a point where you can somehow get a baby from two dads. Like it's 2022. I don't know what the fuck they can do with science now.
Well, dude,
you probably could.
We'll talk about it off. We'll talk later.
I don't know. Maybe not.
But yeah, like twins have had paternity tests, and you're not the father, but you are the father of this one. It's like, what the fuck? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah. So apparently it's a thing. So yeah, whatever. It maybe his blood, maybe it's not his blood. Again, I thought there was just a lot of lines here where somebody, like one of them was saying the other one something that was just not true, but not for the reason they were saying it. Right.
Let me preface this hot take before we go. We gave Kyle the homework because I forgot about his prediction of what would Tyrion's punishment be to Cersei. Like, what would he do to make the ashes
in her
turn
mouth.
In her mouth or whatever.
Or joy turn to ashes in her mouth.
So he's going to think about his prediction till next time on that. It kind of gets us into the purple wedding type of thing. Like, we're going to get to that, and he's going to think it was Tyrion, right?
Yeah, this comes out to bite him because he gets accused of everything, and one of the pieces of evidence, right? This is very this would never, I would hope this would never stand up in like today's trials.
Court of law.
Yeah, is that Tyrion said that, right? What that's called? That's like circumstantial or like anecdotal, right? I think that would be a good word. That's like anecdotal evidence is like if me and you are having an argument and I'm giving you stats, like 50% of like people who smoke die from cancer or whatever, right? And you're like, yeah, but I know my mom and she doesn't smoke. I could be like, that's anecdotal.
Okay.
Right. Or she smokes and she doesn't have cancer, right? Anecdotal is like, I know one person, or I know, like knowing a particular case versus like actual evidence, which is more general.
I mean, it's basically like, this is a threat, but like, it's not like, he didn't say he'd killed anybody. I don't know. Like, it does get used against him, right?
Again, I could see how it would be damning. Even in like today's day and age, it would be pretty fucking damning, especially like if you had it on video, right? Like, again, I didn't really pay attention to the Johnny Depp trial, but like they had a lot of video of shit like this, right? Where somebody was just saying something
dude.
like,
and
fuck
just
you,
voice
I hate
recordings.
You, and then that doesn't look good in court. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
so it's kind of what happens to Tyrion here.
Absolutely. This wouldn't look good. Like, if it's they do have a jury, right? They have a jury of 3 people. Now, Tywin doesn't really give a fuck. He was going to make him guilty anyway.
Yeah.
But if it was a fair jury and they hear that, they're like, oh, fuck. Like, and there's like other shit. Like, he slapped the king, you know? Like,
it's not like in the trial. I mean, in the trial, everyone's out to get him, but it's through the witnesses, right? Like, everything the witnesses say, a lot of it's not true, but it's all damning, right? Like, you don't need. Right. It's very possible that like Tywin had like paid off the judges to do whatever, or the people to do whatever he needed, but that's not necessary with how damning like, all the testimonies were.
Yeah, and he just had nothing for himself, you know. So
exactly, but it's like you don't need to buy off the jury when you've already bought off all the witnesses. You know what I mean? Like the jury's going to vote how they're going to vote.
To the point of it, you think there's no chance? Well, we know, right? And we know that Tyrion had nothing to do with it. Either it was Littlefinger or it was meant to kill him, right? So
again, there's like a really
he's not involved in the killing of Joffrey.
It'd have to be some really, really weird fucking like he has like a multiple Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde And literally we're only getting half of Tyrion's, like, you know what I mean? Like Tyrion like wakes up and sleepwalks and does shit. Like it would have to be that type of shit for him to be involved without ever thinking about it in the rest of the chapters afterwards. So in my mind, he's not involved, period.
Yeah, I don't think so either. The question, you always go back and let's not dive into it, but was it actually meant for him? And that kind of changed everything. Because Kyle's going to think, when's Kyle ever going to think of that possibility that it was actually meant for him? Like it's probably not going to come to mind, right? He reads about the Purple Wedding. He's going to think Tyrion killed Joffrey.
Yeah, I think unless he thinks it's suspicious that he chokes immediately after eating the pie.
Yeah.
Right. That's the biggest piece of evidence that I think somebody could be like, wait a minute, that's kind of weird, that he might actually ask us about.
Yeah.
Like, how come he
I don't
drinks
think he's going to pick up on that. That's pretty tough.
Because he does drink it and give like a decent little like sentence or two before he eats the pie and then dies.
I don't think he's going to pick up on that, but to your point, like he's not going to remember the last time we had the strangler being used, right? And that he died.
But to your point, that's like a deep theory. There's not like a piece of evidence that you're like, oh, wait a minute, let me think about this. That would be if there was one, that would probably be it. I'm thinking.
So I want to jump to the beginning real quick when he talks about the two of them being dead and him thinking about the wolves. Just a curious kind of thing for him to think of the wolves right away and not even the kids.
Yeah, like why are the Lannisters? It's a weird thing for the Lannisters to be thinking about as the wolves, but I could see how that would leave an impact on you, right? Tyrion, we know Tyrion didn't sleep too, right? Like Tyrion doesn't sleep well, so he was like the one chapter we get
listening to the wolves the whole
he's
time,
up reading in the library, right? Just listening to him the whole time. So probably like an eerie memory he's got. I don't know. Like I don't think. Are you insinuating there's like a warg type connection that he has with them on some level? Is that like what you're hinting at?
Kind of, like you've mentioned that he's going to be the third dragon type of thing, and like I feel like to ride the dragon you need to be wargish, right? Like the dragon's not just letting anybody ride it.
Yeah, it seems like the dragon riding thing is slightly different than warging, but there's some similarity there. Right?
It's just kind of goofy that I'm pulling at straws here, but his first thing is like, man, I wonder what those wolves are doing.
I thought it was weird too, and I think part of it is, maybe it's not him. I'm in the middle of taking notes on the cat chapter, but there's a part when Cat is thinking about. Cat does get news of this in the next chapter, and along the line of the wolves. Yeah, this isn't her chapter. I was thinking it was Sharon, but it's not. She thinks like, wait a minute, is this real? Like, how could? She's like, Theon must have killed the wolves. If he didn't kill the wolves, this can't possibly be true.
The wolves would have.
Yeah. She's like, I can't imagine that Bran and Rickon would ever be in danger while those wolves were alive. Right.
But the wolves were chained up. They could have killed Bran if they really wanted to. Bran would be dead.
I think the little talk about the wolves in the next chapter, this is my prediction to you. I think the next chapter, Kyle's going to stick with his theory that the next chapter, like Cat is destroyed by this.
Right.
Like I was reading the chapter last night. It's like a tough one, right? Like she's like fucked up by it. She's like, Lily gets this news, goes and sees her dad, who can't talk to her because he's given dream wine.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't have anyone. My children just died. I'm about to lose my father. Like she's in a bad fucking spot next chapter.
Rob's probably not really even talking to her, right?
He literally just took the crag. So Rob just fucked everything up. Like, again, we don't know about it. We just got word that Rob took the crag, meaning he married Jane Westerling. So he fucked everything up. Again, Cat doesn't know, but right now it's happening basically currently.
Right.
Cat's life
is
Cat's life is just
crumbling.
It's a depressing ass chapter. Like when you're reading. For me, when I got to the part where she's with her dad and she's just like, I have nobody anymore. It's just like really fucking sad.
Ugh.
So I don't know. Like she's in a bad way.
Yeah, but does she come out of it? Like, not does she come, but does she think like, oh wait, they're actually alive? Like those wolves. If the wolves are alive,
she doesn't linger on it for long, and it's like kind of early in the chapter. So I think she's like pretty. She thinks they're dead. But I think if anything, like I think that will make Kyle stick to his guns on the whole they're not dead thing, even though she's fucked up.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but she doesn't even get word that Bran and Rickon are alive, right? Before she dies?
I don't think so. I don't think she ever finds out again. Which
so
makes,
she dies thinking that Sansa's.
She has. When you think about Cat, when you think about Cat's story, it's just so sad.
Yeah, Cat's story is not a good one, and I've given her a lot of flack. I do think she's to blame for.
You mean not a good one in terms of like joy, like not like it's a bad storyline.
She has no joy. Like nothing good happens.
But you don't mean it's a bad storyline.
No, we've talked about it before. Like
Yeah.
some of the coolest shit is in her POV.
Yeah. I think this next chapter we're gonna read, again, we're kind of lingering on it, is I think it's one of the best chapters. Like I would probably put it in the top 10 in this book at least, if not top 20 of the series. It's a good ass chapter, I think.
Yeah, and I'll just say it again. She's like a Skylar White kind of character to me in the show. Like she's just always complaining. So like the show definitely plays a big part of that.
So again, we'll get into some of that stuff in the next one. But where the Cat thing relates here is the last thing I mentioned about that chapter. What they think Cat's going to do is potentially kill Jaime because of this.
Right.
Next chapter, she does the exact opposite and lets this guy out of here in hopes, kind of like what you're saying. Like her only hope is Sansa now. Again, Rob still too, but
right. And this is like Rob already is laying in his bed, right? Rob ruined it by marrying this girl because the twins.
She doesn't know yet. We don't find out about that till Storm of Swords, but like
okay,
in
so
the
then she
timeline,
does
it's happening. In the timeline, it's happening like right now.
Like sending Jaime back is. I'd rather for kill Jaime.
Time out. In the timeline though, like Rob is doing that right now. Like it's not like her not sending Jaime fixes any of that.
Sure.
All that happens is when Rob comes back, he's not mad at her because he can't be, because he's basically like, hey, I won't be mad at you if you're not mad at me. And
right.
She kind of like has to accept.
We're both really stupid. You fucked up and I fucked up.
Exactly.
Too.
They kind of have to just both accept.
To the point of like, all right, Rob married this girl. Maybe your war's over, but you could take a ship and go home.
You should go the fuck west.
They could go west, get on a ship, go back north.
Actually, you could go north, but you could also just go. You can't really go north right now. There's a war to fight in the north. Your kingdom is.
You're gonna go. But you actually have an army. They don't have an army. Like,
yeah,
you're gonna beat the Iron Men on land.
I mean, I agree that they would win that fight, but it's not like a given. Like if Rob is granted the access to go north, it's not like a done deal. Like they hold the neck. I guess we see what they have at the neck, and like remember when because Theon has to go into Mokalan.
Yeah.
For Ramsay and get him out, and they're all fucked up. They're all like super sick and like dying. Mm-hmm. But they do hold the neck. Rob would take it without.
They would take it. They might lose some people, but they're gonna take back the north.
They would get it back. Yeah, they would get it back. But
the people, just think about the people in the castle. Like Winterfell is already trying to fight for the Stark. So if the Stark banner shows up outside, they're gonna like, I don't know, start trying to like throw butter knives at people and shit.
Everyone will be fired up. Everyone rallies that. But like you were saying, like Kat said this a while ago. Like, what are we fighting for? There's no point. Let's just turn tail and go. Like,
yeah.
Like, what's the point? Like, even if we take King's Landing, then what? Like Rob said, I don't know if this is in the book, but like he tells, this is like a thing he talks to his wife about in the show. She's like, "What are you gonna do?" And he's like, "I don't know." She's like, "So you're gonna take over a kingdom that you're not going to know what to do with afterwards? Like, what's the point of that?" Like, you know what I'm talking about? I don't remember exactly what they're saying, but it's along those lines.
Didn't they? Well, then she's like pregnant, right? Is that the same conversation? She's pregnant, like or they just have sex?
I think this is before he's
before they're even together. Is it when they're like helping with the wounded people?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, why would take over if you don't intend to rule? He's like, because he killed my father. He's like, well, what about all the people who rely on
all the fathers you've killed?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. You might be right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really. Again, I've said this before. I wish we got a couple Rob POVs. Like, fine, we didn't need him in the first book. Like, we really don't know his. He's got to be power hungry now. Like, he's got to like being king. He's got to like it.
More, my point was like you're saying now, like just go back north. Like that's an option. And I'm saying that was an option from the beginning, and that's what Kat's been saying, and you've been kind of fighting against
But he didn't really fuck up yet. Like, he's been, to this point, he's won.
Yeah.
He's married this girl. He still hasn't lost yet.
You're right. Well.
But if he realized that marrying this girl ends the relationship with the phrase, you have lost now.
The other thing is.
Go home.
So here's the big thing is, if you lose the relationship with the phrase in isolation, that's not a game. That's not game over. But
it's not
that
game
on
over,
top of the North problems, right? The Greyjoy shit also going on. So a big question I would have is, not that I think it would change what Rob did, but like if Rob knew that he had already lost the North if he knew that before he got married, then he's a dumbass. But if he got married, maybe he's like, you know what? We can lose the phrase and still get out of this thing. And then he finds out with the North and he's like, okay, well, again, that doesn't actually impact him at all. Like, besides the fact that he has to go back north, and that's what gets him at Walder Frey's table, right? If the North's never taken, he doesn't go north.
Yeah, you're true.
Then he doesn't get killed there. Again, I think both of those things, the combination is what kills Robb. So if Robb marries, again, we're totally in the cat. We're in like Storm of Swords talk right now, but like
whatever. Robb, I mean, it does play into what Cat like.
Yeah, it's along the lines of Cat releasing Jaime. Which is kind of where we're going from the Cat killing Jaime suggestion in this chapter.
Yeah,
we'll rehash a lot of this, and I'm sure talk about it in the next spoiler section chapter.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can pull out if you want to. I don't.
Yeah, let's pop out of it now. I don't have too much more.
There's a sweet sister in there.
There's sweet sisters, but the other thing is Tyrion calls Alayaya Sweetling.
Sweetling. I mean, she's lying.
And he calls Shay Sweetling.
Yeah. Let's get into the bigger thing. Like, fuck Alayaya. We know she's playing her part, right? The biggest thing is Shay is a Tywin person. So
there's one thing I was thinking about that I have questions on this now.
I'm convinced that she was a Tywin person from the beginning.
I was I talked to you about this and I was like really convinced yesterday, but I looked into it a little bit more today and I read the part where Tyrion goes to kill Tywin. Right? Okay. He gets let out. He's walking with Varys. He sees a mosaic on the floor and knows
that he can turn.
He knows that they're in the Tower of the Hand, and he's like, "We're in the Tower of the Hand. I'm going to kill Tywin."
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he asks Varys where's the Tower of the Hand. Varys takes him like there.
Yeah,
it's like I know. It's like an opportunity thing.
Sure, but what does that have to do with Shay? Like,
if Shay's Tywin's. The only reason he knows he's in the Tower of the Hand is because of what Shay tells him in this chapter.
Yeah, but she's not thinking about that. Like, when's in her mind, when is he going to find the mosaic tile that leads to the Tower of the Hand?
Tywin never told Shay, hey, don't tell Tyrion about this mosaic, because if he ever escapes from
the... maybe he'll kill me when they think he's dead. They think he's, in the cells ready to be decapitated.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking, she can't be working for Tywin because she is the reason Tywin dies in the end by telling this mosaic. I thought, like, maybe Varys told her, like, tell him about this mosaic. So think about this. Think Varys wants Tyrion. I mean, if that's true, Varys is planning on Tyrion getting thrown in jail and having to go through an escape route.
We're too far out for all that to be happening right now. I guess the one point is, like, if you are Tywin's man, why hood her? Like, just let her see where she's going. But like Varys doesn't want her to know, like, the other passages maybe and whatnot. So, like, I'm taking Varys out of it. Speaking simply from Tywin.
Hold on. What do you mean take Varys out of it? Varys is the only one who's with both Shay at the mosaic and Tyrion at the mosaic.
Yeah.
So if there's anybody trying to make a connection between the two, okay, you're saying there's no connection there. I think that's okay.
I don't think that's a connection at all. I'm just trying to get with Shay being Tywin's kind of mole.
Cool with that. Real quick, the whole point of the mosaic thing, the fact that Tyrion realizes, means that when George wrote this, that was all planned. Like, he had literally planned how Tywin was going to know how to go kill
how Tyrion would know how to kill. Yeah.
Which, again, like, sometimes we say, like, did George think about... He thought about, how am I going to get Tyrion into the Tower of the Hand back at this point and put a mosaic... Like, you know what I mean? That is some intricate
it's definitely very good. It's definitely very good. You got to think, like, when he does Tyrion's character arc, at the point of, like, he had to know killing Tywin was a peak of his story climax, right?
Yeah, for sure. That has to be, in the outline of Tyrion from the beginning.
But you're right. Like, finding a means of how he's going to get Tywin there, or Tyrion to Tywin, and having that little piece.
People are saying, like, George wrote himself into a corner, and that's why Winds is taking so long, because he doesn't know how to write the next thing. Like, this proves that he's thinking about shit in advance. Right?
I don't believe that. I read something that he's just kind of so thrown off by the show's ending and kind of like people.
He's doing a little rework, right?
That he's trying to, like, rework the story.
I don't know if you looked at it. Normally when George posts blogs, he has a blog that's called Not a Blog.
Okay.
Classic George. Most of what he posts is like nonsense. Like, during football season, he just posts about how bad the Jets and Giants suck all the time. Yeah. But, like, a lot of people like me will just scour it every day or two just to see if there's anything new. And recently he did post, like, a big thing about When's a Winner, and he said, like, it's going to be way longer. So it was so he did a he was on a podcast interview, like an hour-long podcast interview, and then he did this write-up kind of summarizing what he said about Winds in the podcast interview. It's going to be potentially 300 pages longer than Dance or like Storm. I think me and you talked about this. I don't know if it was on air or not. But yeah, like a lot of that stuff was coming out there, and he said that he's been rewriting a lot of chapters. So, and he was basically saying like, the further I get, the more it's becoming different from the show's ending because I'm a gardener. But again, stuff like this is like what really impresses me, right? And
dude, that's super impressive.
And it makes me think that there has to be somebody. Almost makes me think Varys has to be behind it. Like, why else? Like, unless George is a fucking god, you know what I mean?
But how does he know that Shay told him?
I'm 100% with you that I don't think it's a fucking stretch for Varys to plan this. But I think what it proves is if Varys didn't plan this, then that's a fucking like you know what I'm saying? Like if Varys planned it, then obviously it's gonna be it's not as like meticulous as a thing to do as an author because it's like a bigger plot point. But like if Varys didn't plan it, then it's more of just showing that George at this point had already thought of how am I gonna get Tyrion physically into Tywin's bedroom. Yeah. You know what I mean?
To just continuing, like if Varys did want it to happen, he knows that the killing of Tywin would severely hurt the Lannisters, and Cersei starts making some really big mistakes after that.
It's kind of right along the lines of what Varys would want, right?
Right. So it's like, man, hey, go up here and you'll escape, but all right, there's this tunnel over here which would take you to your dad, and you can shoot him while he's on the shitter.
And again, I didn't read this part because I was more interested in the mosaic part, but to see if the mosaic was brought up at all. But like when Tyrion says like, "Oh, let's go kill Tywin," I want to go. I don't remember like what Varys' response is there. Is like, is he like, "No, don't do that. That would be a bad idea. Come on, let's go this way. Yeah. Come on."
Shay is just a Tywin man. Like even I forget. Like just being there, like being in the tent, like them getting hooked up is just too perfect. Him telling her not to take her. Too perfect. Like
her wearing the gold hand necklace in this scene.
Her wearing the gold hand. Her then being at the trial. Just like if he really just sent her away, like she would probably just go right and just keep doing what she was doing. But she came.
Send her away. I don't know. So again, this is one of the things where it's like either there's a good reason, there's a good explanation either way. Either she doesn't want to leave Tyrion and go away and go to an area that's not about to be attacked because she's living a really fucking cushy life in a mansion by herself in a big ass city where she can kind of do whatever the fuck she wants. So like, oh, I want to keep this going. No, I'm not going to move away. I want to keep doing this. That could be 1A. The other option is Tywin said, no, tell him whatever you have to. You're staying there. You're not leaving. Like, you're my spy. You're my end man. Just keep him happy. Right. So either way, I'm not saying this proves that she's not Tywin, but I don't think it proves that she is Tywin's either. I think there's a logical explanation for both ways. It's just like along the working for Tywin thing. Like if we're going down that route, does she know about this Alayaya thing? Like
I would think she knows a little bit of the plan, right? Because she was waiting in the manse before.
How about this? Who told Cersei about Alayaya? Like just like a random. It's very possible that it's like just like a random person.
I think it's just a random watch. I truly think it's just
who was trying to make a buck and told Cersei. Or
trying to make his way
spy that we don't know about. Just the fact that she says I have people that aren't Varys makes me think like, you're supposed to wonder who this is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is it Littlefinger? You know, we haven't heard. But have we not heard because Cersei doesn't want Tyrion to hear?
So that's the thing is I was thinking this is like Littlefinger's the next person where your mind goes when something fishy like this is happening, right? But he's been gone for 2 months. But Tyrion's probably been going to Alaya's for more than 2 months.
For sure. So
maybe Littlefinger told Cersei this. You know what? I bet you it was Littlefinger. I think this was Littlefinger who told Cersei this. Because
like, hey, before I go, like your brother's been visiting this place.
I just thought about something. In the chapter where Littlefinger gets sent to Bitterbridge, right? It's basically just an all chapter long council meeting, right? They talk about a bunch of shit. He's like, I remember. At the end of the chapter, like he leaves. He's like, okay, I'm gonna leave by dawn.
I need to start packing, right?
Cersei like says something to Tyrion there, like that makes you seem like she has something on him. But then there's like 2 or 3 Tyrion chapters where nothing comes of it. But it's the last time we see Littlefinger.
Yeah, I don't remember what she says to him.
Tyrion, I know we do not always agree on policy, but it seems to me that I was wrong about you. You are not so big a fool as I imagined. In truth, I realize now that you have been a great help. For that, I must thank you. You must forgive me if I have spoken to you harshly in the past. Must I? He gave her a shrug smile. Sweet sister, you have done nothing that requires forgiveness. Today, you mean? They both laughed, and Cersei leaned over and planted a quick, soft kiss on his brow. That's the quote I have. After this is just the rest of my notes, but my notes say, Tyrion was too astonished for words as he watched her walk off. He looks to Bronn and asks if he's lost his wits or if his sister just kissed him. Bronn says, was it really that sweet? Tyrion says, it was
We talked about that big sweet then, too.
It was anticipated, right, is what he says.
Yeah.
Or unanticipated, or I forget.
He wasn't
I feel like I quoted it wrong in my notes. I have unanticipated, but I remember talking about how I had it quoted wrong. I'll go check it. And then he says that Cersei has been acting strangely lately, and it was unsettling. He says she hasn't kissed him since... He hasn't kissed him like that since he was 6 or 7, and it was only because Jaime dared her.
Yeah.
And Bronn says maybe she's finally noticed your charms. He says, no, she is up to something, and he best find out what, because he hates surprises.
What? And there's nothing else that...
That's Tyrion 8. So we have had Tyrion 9, 10, and 11. We've had 3 Tyrion chapters where Cersei has done nothing that really alludes to that, right?
And that's at the end of the council meeting?
That's after Littlefinger leaves, right? So literally right after Littlefinger dips out. So Littlefinger could have told her that before the meeting. She's like, I know this deal. And now she's like, I'm going to kind of plays a little Varys game, sits on the information till she knows.
Yeah.
You know? That's kind of where my head's at now. I actually didn't think about this.
I mean, I'll definitely agree. Like, we know Littlefinger kind of works with Varys. It kind of works against Varys. Like, once he wants to have a card on everybody too. And
again, I think during the chapter we kind of talked during the non-spoiler. We kind of talked through why Varys doesn't make sense. The only reason why Varys would want to tell Cersei this is if he was trying to convince her that, hey, I'm on your side. Look, I'm giving you information, right? Because he's not actually fucking Tyrion over.
Right.
The only thing he gains is maybe Cersei's trust, but Cersei literally says, I don't trust Varys in this chapter. So I think that literally, it doesn't prove, but to me, it's not Varys. It wasn't Varys. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's Varys either.
Yeah, so we talked that through the non-spoiler. I just gave the summary of it here. This, I think, is very telling that Littlefinger, like Cersei seems to be up to something. The last time Littlefinger's in a chapter, which is 2 months ago. And
yeah,
like, this is chapter 36.
I mean,
it's 20 chapters ago.
There's no other spies, right? There's no other spies. There's a lot of spies. There's no other big, like, heads of spies. So it has to be one of the two. Like,
because Littlefinger was the first place my head went, but I'm like, he hasn't been here. But, like, now that I'm thinking about it, there's this thing. I do software for a living. There's this thing in software called the rubber ducky, where the idea is if you just have a rubber ducky at your desk and you just talk to it like it's a coworker, like, asking questions out loud will just, like, you'll just think of, like, the answer will come to you. Right, so a lot of that happens. I feel like when we just like talking about the chapter here, where I'm like, it couldn't have been Littlefinger, and I'm like, hold on, that makes me actually think to myself, could it have been Littlefinger? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, I get you.
So yeah, and when you think about it, I think it really could have been Littlefinger because he was going to Elia's back then, or to Shatia's to see Elia. So he
and you would know Littlefinger would know who Shatia is, being a guy in the whorehouse business.
Yeah, and we've mentioned this before. Like right now, it seems like who Cersei owns besides Varys is the Kettle Blacks.
Right.
Right. And
which
Tyrion,
come from the fingers.
Well, I don't know where they come from, but Tyrion thinks Cersei's an idiot. She thinks that she owns the Kettle Blacks, but I own the Kettle Blacks. But really, we learn later that Littlefinger owns the Kettle Black dad, which makes you assume he owns all the sons as well. So Littlefinger, they're like triple agents, right? They're not just double agents for Tyrion; they're triple agents.
They're just taking money from everybody.
Exactly. So, and
at the end of the day, they're worried about is Littlefinger. I definitely believe that if someone would tell it, like Littlefinger, it could have been for sure.
It's what I'm saying. Even if it's not Littlefinger, the next most likely is a Kettle Black, which kind of amounts to the same thing because they probably work for Littlefinger.
Yeah. Say it was 2 months ago. He might not have known. He might not even have known, but he was like, hey, Tyrion frequents this whorehouse a lot, this one whorehouse. Like, maybe you should look into it.
Exactly. That's all he would have to do. It's all he would have to do. Yep.
So. And
Littlefinger being the whorehouse guy. I mean, he owns all the whorehouses. Yeah. Let me see if I have anything else. Nope, that's it. That's all I got. Yeah, there were some weird sweets here and there, like when we find out it's Alyaya.
And he calls her a sweetling?
Like, when we find out it's her, that's when he calls her sweetling. So, like, it's kind of
sweetling,
like,
he said to...
the whole time.
Yeah.
And then again, like,
and
Shay,
he says it's a Shay. So like Sweetlink Shay, I think is a double agent.
I like the whole thing. Again, this was the thing that Glow had mentioned to us, that like sweet is like used to, kind of like the whole point from Karth. Sweet is used to hide sour smells. The thing is, sweet is used so much in these books. Like literally every time somebody talks to Cersei, they say sweet sister. I mean, I guess it makes sense. She's a little bitch, but
I mean, every time Tyrion, but like he's saying sweet sister as a like lie.
But like Cersei calls Sansa sweet all the time. Like they just say it so much. It's so hard to like kind of find meaning in it when it's everywhere. But I think sometimes it's interesting for sure.
I think it's more interesting when it's like the weather was sweet out, you know, and it's not like a person talking about another person.
Yeah, or like a situation where it's more like about like actually smell or something, right? Like when Varys comes in and he's foul smelling.
Yeah, like if Kat walked into the Frey house during the fucking Red Wedding and it was like, wow, it's got really sweet smell in here, and you're like, oh, you're fucking dying.
Exactly. That type of thing is more upfront.
Yeah.
When people just calling the people sweet, or like as a nickname, I don't think there's as much.
But we do get some weird, like the sun was super sweet today, and then you're like, or the sunset was a sweet setting, and you're like, oh, that's dawn, and then you get, you know, you're.
And again, with the whole like mosaic here thing, it makes you think like George is thinking about a ton of stuff. Like anything could mean
anything's in play.
Yeah, everything's fair game. So. Let us know if you guys have any thoughts. Let us know in the Discord or in the comments of the YouTube video. Give us a rating on Spotify, iTunes.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys in the next one.
All right, bye.
For Cat 7.
Hear me roar.
Hear me roar.
Hear me roar.